generations back who came from Africa, they will have this issue too, that high muscle tone. Any football fans here? Only one? Okay, all right. I think I know how that happened, but anyway. If you've ever even just looked at a football game, how many white guys on the football team? Quarterback, the kicker, everybody else is black. Because that high muscle tone allows us to be very strong, very fast, and it gives us endurance. Same if you look at the winners of any marathon. Where do they come from? Kenya, Ethiopia. Because of that high muscle tone, it looks like those fellows and ladies, they can run for a week. And, they're just out for a stroll. But again, it is the quality of our muscle that allows us to take in oxygen, use it very efficiently to get out that energy. The sad thing about that is that our arteries are lined by that same muscle. So that muscle is a very high tone, and as soon as you challenge it with, opening your Duke bill, you get a flat tire, that muscle is going to contract. And if you think about watering your yard, let's say it's, this time of year, you just put out some new plants, you pull out your water hose, and you've got this big yard that you've got to cover. What do? You turn this faucet up as high as it'll go, because you want to cover the whole yard, right? And then if you don't have one of those fancy little squeeze sprayers, you take your thumb and put it over the end so that the stream will go farther. Pretend that hose is your artery. And when you take your thumb and put it over that water hose so that water shoots out, what are you doing? You're increasing the pressure at which that water comes out of that hose. So when your blood pressure goes up, that's just like you putting your thumb over the end of that water hose. Increasing the pressure, increasing your blood pressure. Now, let's take that same water hose, and let's say your spouse comes in, and they don't care how hard you've been working in the yard. They just drive over the hose. And they do that all the time. And you just leave the hose, and they drive over the hose, drive over the hose, drive over the hose. Next thing you know, they pull in, and the wheel is on top of the hose. You don't realize it. So you go to the faucet, you turn it all the way up, then what happens to the hose? It bursts. That's your blood vessel under too much pressure. That marble that I was talking about might be that cheeseburger with cholesterol from that cheeseburger. You have the cheeseburger and the fries, and then a strawberry shake, and then you wash it down for dessert. Your sweet tooth tells you want some German chocolate cake. So the cholesterol that you just consumed gets into the bloodstream. That's that marble that you just dropped down into your arteries. That cholesterol, literally, a ball of cholesterol, goes down as far as it can until it runs into an artery that is smaller than it is. And it stops. But remember, you had the fries with the extra salt. So your blood vessel has done this. It gets to a point where it can't go any further. Blood keeps coming. Then you got a rupture. And again, if that happens in your brain, that's a stroke. If that happens in your heart, that's a heart attack. If it happens in your extremities, that leads to the need for an amputation because there's no blood flow past where that cholesterol went. Yes, sir?
So when you have any one of those occurrences because of the pressure restriction, is that permanent damage to that blood vessel, or does that regenerate to a healthier state?
No, sir. No, sir, it doesn't. The artery can be repaired. They literally take out the damaged artery. If they get to you in time, You get to the hospital in time, they can take that artery out. They'll take an artery from your leg, or a vein from your leg, transplant that into your heart. That's open heart surgery. It's called a coronary artery bypass graft. Sometimes you'll hear people say, yeah, I have a 3-vessel bypass or a 6-vessel bypass. None of the damage that I've talked about happens in isolation. All of your arteries get the same treatment. So if somebody tells you, oh, your doctor, you go to your doctor and they say, you've got a vessel blocked in your heart, you ought to say to yourself, oh my goodness, I've got that same problem everywhere. It's just the heart that complained first.
So how is that rupture repaired, I guess is what I'm trying to think and rationalize in my mind. Because say you have a stroke.
Yes, sir.
Because just like the hose, it's ruptured.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still there. So
yes, sir.
How is that? Is it medicine that does blood bypass that now, or it continues to leak? Or
yes, sir, it does. Yes, sir. It continues to leak, and the larger the leak, the lesser the chance of survival. So the larger the blood vessel, the more blood it's carrying, the less likely that person is to survive. The smaller the blood vessel, the sooner the intervention, the greater the likelihood that that person will survive. So think about if you cut your hand or you cut your finger. Small blood vessel, you hold it up, you squeeze it, you squeeze it so it'll stop bleeding, you put a Band-Aid on it. Your body does have an ability to clot the blood, and then you go on about your way. But if you again, the larger the blood vessel. So if you're in a car, somebody's in a car